All right, well, good afternoon to everybody. Good afternoon to everybody. There you go, there you go. Now we all have, this is after lunch, so we all have to help one another stay awake, right? I'm Maurice, and so we're gonna talk about advocacy this afternoon. And the hope is that this is not going to be a one-way dialogue, but a conversation that we'll all build on. All right, and so that's the aspiration. I think we're ready. So let me start. I'm going to build on let's see if I can make this work. I'm going to build on some things that the Chancellor has already been mentioning. So it is my sense that one of the most important places to start when it comes to advocacy, and this is public sector or private sector, or I should say both, is let's make sure that we know the compelling facts of our case. Let's make sure we are highlighting our story in the way that is most relevant for the times that we're in. The times that we're in now, the word that everybody has on the tips of their tongues is what? I heard one. Affordability, right? That's no matter where you go, bipartisan, public sector, private sector, around the table, affordability, in whatever definition you're using, is a key piece that people are focused on. Well, here's something for us to keep in mind. So what I've done, and it turns out that my numbers are a little dated. What I've done here is I have for you, just focus on the highlighted pieces. I have for you the tuition and mandatory cost of our four-year institutions annually, and the tuition and mandatory fee of our community colleges on average across the state. I'm not even including boarding and other costs. And you can see the dramatic difference, right? Almost 5 times difference. That is a message that we all know, but we need everybody else to know. And we need them to know it and have it memorized. And by the way, I think the numbers now are, this is over 30,000, am I right? And this is like still south of 6,000. 1 year, just tuition and fees, not room and board. It's not even close. We need to make sure that in this day and age, when everybody's trying to brand themselves as being about affordability, that they have this data memorized, which means you have to tell people at least 10 times, right? Don't expect folks to internalize it with just one piece. So that's a piece of it. Let's unfold it a little further. So here's another data point for us, and just focus right here. On average right now, and this is just transfers, our schools are sending 12,000 students a year to our public four-year colleges. 12,000 a year at a moment when people are wondering where the pipeline for higher ed will come from in our state as well as across the country. We're still sending about 12,000 students a year to our schools, to our 4 years. Let's break that down a little bit. This shows you, I'm just giving you this so you'll get a sense. This shows you where folks are going when they're transferring to our 4-year schools. Part of what you see here is we have guaranteed transfer agreements with every 4-year college in the state except for one. Can you guess which one that is? What?
UVA.
No, not UVA, not William and Mary. Where?
VMI.
VMI. You're not supposed to guess. Okay, I got a cheater in the class. As with most things, VMI is the exception, right?
Yep.
But with every other public 4-year, we've got a guaranteed transfer agreement. There are a number of different ingredients in that guaranteed transfer agreement, but the main one is a minimum GPA. And the different schools have different requirements there. But the bottom line for a student is you come in and you make that minimum GPA, you don't have to worry about a standardized test. We've got guaranteed transfer agreements. Our folks need to know this. The state needs to know this much more broadly than they know it now. Those of us who are inside the family know it well. But I would wager to tell you most ordinary folks in the state do not know this. They need to know it, whether they have a child or not who may be college age, because this is about our brand. This is about what we do for the state. This is about our story. They need to know it. Get this. These are all the private colleges that our folks are transferring to. So when we tell our story, and that's where things should start, we've got to make sure we know the salient facts and that we get them out in the marketplace and that we do it a gazillion times. Here's another piece of it. These are, I've said track record. I'm now saying that you can see our track record through our graduates, through our alumni. We've got folks who are leaders in the private sector, leaders in the public sector, leaders in finance, leaders in higher ed, leaders in energy. These are just a sample. We've got impressive folks everywhere. And then you've heard a lot of this. 48% of all public undergrads in the state right now. Over 230,000 students. That 48%, by the way, is rising. I think it was 46% 2 years ago, or something like that. Over 80% of our students stay in Virginia. 100,000 minority students right now. That number is rising. Over 350,000 degrees and certificates and credentials in the last 10 years. We're trying to add another, as you heard the Chancellor say, 300,000 by 2030. Close to 60,000 high school students are getting college credit via our 23 colleges. Our fast forward students are earning recognized industry credentials in 6 to 12 weeks. And by the way, they're increasing their salaries by $12,000 to $15,000 a year as a result. And $12,000 more a year for our associate degree earners when you compare it to folks who don't have post-secondary education. Now, the question is, did all of you know all of this by heart? No? Who did? You better not raise your hand. Our first job is to commit this to memory. The first sort of lesson of advocacy is you've got to believe in and know the gospel yourself so you can preach it, right? That's the first thing. This is the stuff that we have to commit to memory, and then we have to get it in the marketplace a gazillion times. That's the first thing for me. The folks that I've seen who've been the most effective are at this lot, if you will, are folks who know their story, know their facts. We've got to know our facts. Now, I'm sure there are facts. By the way, what did I leave out? Other facts that you would say we should?
Well, there's a bunch, but I think this is a good.
There's a good start?
Great start.
So, let's talk a little about advocacy and action, and this is where I'm hoping that we can have a dialogue. I have listed up here 7 or 8 features that I've seen work when it comes to advocacy via the public sector. I guarantee you that I've left something out. So I'm hoping you'll help me with that. But here's where it starts, building relationships. So to the extent that we are treating advocacy as a transaction, as show up at the General Assembly when the members are in for whatever day to ask for whatever we want, we are minimizing our effectiveness. Advocacy is about a relationship. That's what advocacy is, which means, so I used to be the Commerce Secretary, and I was visited by lobbyists all the time. In fact, they probably wouldn't want me to call them lobbyists, but that's what they were. The ones that were the most effective were not necessarily the ones who actually could make their case for their cause the best or in the best manner. It was the ones who were able to say when we sat down, so how's your daughter's basketball team doing? Or, I know you were raised by your grandparents. Do you still go to Lunenburg? Or, are you crazy? You commute from Hampton Roads every day? Those were the ones that were the most effective. Ones where I felt like this was more than a transaction, that this was a connection, this was a relationship, and that they cared about me outside of what I was doing in my job life. That's our job, first and foremost, which means this is year round, right? This is not show up when the General Assembly is in session. This is most of the time not making any ask at all. Most of the time, this should be about a connection, a relationship. Making sure that we understand the biography of the person we're advocating to and his or her priorities. And making sure that we're sharing who we are, our why, so to speak. That's the core of, in my mind, effective advocacy. And that's where it should start. That should be the middle section, and that should be the lasting section. The ask should be a pretty small part of what you're doing when it comes to advocacy. But that does mean that you have to treat it, you have to have the stamina to do it. That you're, as we used to say in church, you're tithing the time it takes to build a relationship, right? So I love it that we come down to the General Assembly and we are advocating on behalf of our colleges and on behalf of our 23 colleges in general. But there's a 30-day session this session. We start second Wednesday in January. We go to what, early March?
February 20th this year.
February 20th. Between January 8th and February 20th, your legislator looks at 2,000 plus bills. My grandfather would say, that is some ugly sausage making, right? But that's how our system is. We don't have, technically, all-year legislators. It's a part-time legislature. 2,000 bills. They need to want to help you as much as anything you have on a piece of paper for them. They only want to help you if they know you. If they think, yep, Chancellor's a good guy. That's a relationship. That's what this is at the end of the day. If you remember nothing else, that's the piece that I would tell you that for me resonates the most. And by the way, I've done this at the state level, at the local level, and at the federal level. On the federal level, I'll tell you, is a mess, but it's still about the relationship piece. That's what it's ultimately all about. Be prepared. The data that we just talked about, the student stories, the poet laureate, let him read a poem with you if you can take him with you, right? Clear ask, and I'm going to come back with that. It's hard to go on our campuses and not understand that that this is unique and magical within our state. You go and you see our campuses and you see our students and our teachers and our presidents and our equipment, some of it modern, some of it not so, right? Hard to walk on those campuses and spend time and not come away thinking, okay, yeah, I want to be a part of this. I want to do something to be helpful. So to the maximum extent we can, and don't worry about whether you're ready or not, get them on campus as much as you can. Because we still have legislators, and remember, we've got a lot of folks who have not been in the legislature very long now. We still have legislators whose image of who our students are is not quite right. So you got to get them there. You got to let them see this. You got to make them see what it is we actually do. You see, recognize. You always give the legislators credit for everything. Everything, right? I'll never forget when I first started working as the Commerce and Trade Secretary, we were going on these international marketing trips, and we were doing press releases beforehand, and they would send me the press release to read and make any comments, and the press release, it was a formula, right? The press release would say, Governor and Secretary are going here, here's who they're going to see, and let's get a quote from the governor and the secretary and 2 or 3 legislators. And so everything that we were doing in every press release, no matter what, we always thanked the legislators for their support, whether it was for VDP or an incentive, you name it. And they appreciated that. And they like that, and we need to remember always lots of gratitude. Return on investment, that's what I was talking about earlier. So if it's a relationship, it means that we're asking, and we should be asking them what we can do for them, right? And whatever we say we're going to do, let's make sure we honor that commitment. It's important. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to folks and they've said, yes, you said you were going to get me X, Y, and Z, and I'm still waiting for it. And it's not helpful. Make meaningful ask. So, in the moment we're in right now, meaningful ask includes, well, let me back up. I told this story earlier. I'll never forget, I worked for Governor McAuliffe, and I had written this proposal for the General Assembly, and we were asking for a little money for an incentive for a company we were trying to attract to Virginia. And I went to him with this, and he looked at it, and he said, Maurice, you're playing small ball. And I looked at him and was like, what? He said, you're playing small ball. He goes, I play big ball. Ask for much more than this, right? We need to be careful that as the largest producer of undergraduates in the state, as 23 colleges that reach every portion of the state, as a system of 17,000 employees, 230,000 plus students, that we're not asking for small stuff. Don't get me wrong, we have to be realistic, but we should ask for things that are consistent to the scale that we have. Nobody else has the scale we have. You know, I'm always, we talked about this. My hat's off to VCU. They asked for and got several $100,000 for a dental school, for a building, if I'm remembering right. The state will not have dental hygienists in anywhere in a sufficient manner unless we are the ones who are producing them. We got to ask for more for them. It's an expensive endeavor, yep. So let's make sure people know it, and let's ask big. That's on us. We cannot act as if we're living in scarcity. Even though you could make an argument, you could put some data together that suggests that we are. But that's not the mindset we should have. Let's make meaningful ask, and let's go big. Now, let me pause, because I know I've left something out. And I know that there are a lot of you who do this work, and so I want you to add to it. Yes, ma'am. And here, I'm going to give you this.
Yes, Maurice, I noticed that, to me, each bullet point assumes administrators and college representatives, and it seems like the faculty voice is missing. And I do think that faculty are among the most credible messengers that legislators never get to hear from, because the stories that come from us hit a little different. And so do you imagine or envision having any space on this list where faculty can get involved more directly in this advocacy work?
So that's a great question. The answer is we definitely need faculty involved in advocacy. And if this feels like it's excluding the faculty voice, then my apologies, because it wasn't intended to do so. Nobody's going to know the students better than the faculty, for example. Nobody's going to know what they really need inside the classroom better than the faculty, right? Nobody is going to be as convincing of a constituent for a legislator in this case as a faculty member. So absolutely, yeah, we need more. This is an all hands on deck journey. We need to make sure we're coordinated, obviously. We don't want a situation where the faculty is saying one thing and the administrators are contradicting it, right? So, but yeah, faculty is a powerful voice. So thank you for raising that. And I certainly was including faculty and frankly, students in this list. Yeah, great question, great point. Would you add, as a faculty member, would you add something to this?
I can't think of anything. It just, the list, and thank you for clarifying, just, that written into this, or you're including both students and faculty. So I can't think of an additional bullet point, but as I was looking at the bullet points, it just felt as though, as though it was targeted toward administrators or institutional representatives.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you mentioned it. I used to do some advocacy for the independent colleges in Virginia for the TAG program, the Tuition Assistance Program. And they would always ask me and a faculty member to go and do it on behalf of the independent colleges. And, I think for the legislators, and I'm glad you've given me this opportunity, it was a surprise for them to see us and not the college presidents. So I think one nice piece of having more faculty who want to do this involved is it will be a surprise to the legislators to see more faculty, and they remember stuff like that. So you may have just volunteered yourself. I just want to give you a warning, because the more that I think about this, the more I think, that's brilliant, yeah. But because again, these legislators, it's almost like autopilot. They're like, who's the next group who's coming in? And so for them to see someone that they wouldn't normally see, it's memorable. And that, again, amongst 2,000 pieces of legislation, memorable is what we want. So thank you for asking that. That's great. Oh, yes, here.
One more group that maybe we could consider including is staff.
Staff, for sure.
When you were posting those numbers, I missed them because I work in the financial aid department.
Ah.
And I came from banking, so numbers mean stuff. The way I was successful in banking, pretty successful, not that successful, but pretty successful in banking, is because I could communicate those numbers and make them mean something to the people I was addressing.
Yep.
And I think staff, faculty play a part, administration plays a part. The staff is, to me, the entire skeletal structure of the community college. They're there 12 months out of the year. They're working nights, so having staff, and we see students, we are the ones who process them so they can go to the classrooms, so they can graduate and move on. So anyway, I just wanted to say that because
It's a great point. By the way, would you add anything?
One more thing I would add.
Yeah.
Because you're saying get folks on campus.
Yes.
But do outreach.
Yes, to get them on.
Show up.
Yep.
We have local fairs, we have local parades. Be visible
Yep.
where it matters to them.
Yeah, good point.
The high schools, get yourself in there.
Yeah, good
Put
point.
yourself out there.
Good point. I thank you. Yes, and this definitely includes staff. So I'll give you a little story. So I went to Hampton-Sydney College as an undergraduate. And I lived in Lunenburg County. I was from Lunenburg County, and Hampton-Sydney's in Prince Edward County. So I knew Hampton-Sydney's campus. In fact, I had run track meets on the track. But I will say, and I knew that I was a little black boy from a town of 1,100. I knew I was going to a majority white school, right? What I didn't fully appreciate is that I would be the only student of color in my class. And there were only 5 students of color in the whole school. We used to joke that if we wanted to have an intramural basketball team, none of us could foul out, or we'd have to default the game, right? Because there was no sub. But I'll never forget the folks who made me feel at home were the people I met in the cafeteria going through the line who would look at me and say, now I know that boy likes chicken. I can tell. Hey, I know his grandmama feeds him better than that. Those were the folks who, and it was small stuff, right? But it was the staff that actually made the first connection with me at my college. And so I'm grateful for staff. And I appreciate everything you do. I'll never forget, I got a note saying, you got a bill, you need to go to the bursar's office. What the heck is a bursar? I had no idea what the bursar was. Well, the person who told me who the bursar was this lady in the cafeteria who I had the nerve to ask. Because I didn't want to ask anybody else, because I didn't want to look stupid, right? So, yep, I'm with you. I appreciate you saying that. What else isn't on here? Yes. Now, don't cheat. Are you cheating?
I'm not cheating.
Okay, all right.
Not from a community college standpoint, you were talking about building relationship with our legislators. Don't forget the gatekeepers.
Okay.
When I say we have to build relationships with them to get to the legislator, that's my comment.
No question about that. Yeah. I probably should have said with the whole office, because there are gatekeepers, and let me tell you, I love gatekeepers. But they play a pretty important role. Did you have? And I'll come back to you.
Great, quick question. Do we advocate as 23 different groups, or as one system, or a combination?
So we have to do both, right? So we should be zealous advocates for our colleges in our area, right? Our home turf, right? But we also need to be zealous advocates for the role that the 23 colleges play in the state, right? Because the bottom line is we will rise and fall as a state depending on the health of the overall system, the 23 colleges as a collective. So you have to figure out how to both be a zealous advocate for your college and be able to say, and guess what? You know, our 23 colleges, 48% of all your undergraduates, right? The folks who are gonna educate your 1 million adults who have some college credit, and there are 1.5 million who have no college credits, are most likely gonna be us first. And so we need you to keep the system healthy. We need you to keep the network healthy. So our job is to be able to do both. And by the way, it's not dissimilar from a 4-year college. I'll never forget, I was on the board of UVA. And the issue that UVA always faced with money was, does the law school and the medical school get all the money, and the College of Arts and Science not so? And so what we had to figure out how to do was, yes, keep the law school and the medical school as national paragons, but we have to keep the whole animal healthy if we're gonna have a healthy UVA. it's the same thing here. We have to be able to invest in the entire network, and we have to advocate for the entire network. The Commonwealth will not be as good as it can be unless they have the best community college system in the country. So yeah, that's a tough. Oh,
I want to just make sure we clarify your question. So just so everyone, our college presidents know this, but maybe some of our local advisory board members, all of the funding from the state flows through the VCCS. So colleges do not get specific appropriations. Those appropriations come through the system. So I just want to make sure, so all of our legislative asks at the state level are coordinated. So I just wanted to make sure that we were clear.
Yep. Yes. Let me come back because I saw a hand here. Oh, was he first?
Well, I did have a question. Unfortunately, my exact question was what Tim just posed. So I wanted to, good job. We do think alike. We talked yesterday. But one of my, you're talking about advocacy.
Let me just actually, does that answer your question? Because it is a great question, because we have to figure out how to do both and do both well, and do it without harming the students are in the colleges, right? So we have to figure out how to do it without harming something. Yep.
So one of the points that I wanted to make for advocacy and action, things that maybe aren't up there, and maybe we've already thought about this, but you take Danville Community College, so their aviation. So we only have aviation at a very small number of schools. So it's ECC and Blue Ridge. We were being that. So, my point is, collectively, we're going as the system, because the system only has two of us, but, why aren't both of those schools being represented to highlight that program and that offering? Because it is a very small number of schools that do it. And then you can look at other capacities as well, from an IT infrastructure to a specialty design programming. Everybody, not knocking it, everybody has English, everybody's got history, math, and those are core subject areas that are exceptionally important. But for the high wage, high earnings opportunities that we have, we really need to push that. And like you said, the community college is only given a small handful of days in which we can show up that we're actually invited for. But there are other days that are out there. I'm sure there's an aviation day that's out there. I know there's a data center day. They probably do not want to see us show up right about now. But I know there are different days that are out there. So collectively, when we present ourselves, we're still presenting ourselves as Brightpoint. We're still presenting ourselves as Danville Community College. But at the same time, we're presenting ourselves as Virginia Community College Systems offerings. So maybe that's something that we could add in that advocacy.
I think we want to give you an example of exactly what we did this year. So we actually happen to have both of those presidents in the room, and again, coordinated through the system office. Both of these presidents, myself, did multiple presentations to the aviation caucus at the General Assembly. And as a result of all of those presentations, then the VCCS received special funding specifically for those two programs. So this is a classic example of coordination. And I think what did not happen is Dr. Downey going on his own or Dr. Johnson going on his own. It was all coordinated. And I don't want to, but I want to, there's a specific example, and I don't know if
extremely effective. I mean, just Dr. Johnson and I got together to make sure we're saying the same message with the VCCS, and went to the Virginia, the Aviation Business Association was behind us. So a lot of effective.
Yeah. And so what I like about this, so I'm glad you raised that, because I think we have even more opportunity, and we just have to figure out what the collection of colleges are to make sure people are seeing us in different industries. So the rural caucus, right, should be seeing the community colleges where 17 or 18 of us are serving rural Virginia as a cause that they should be all over, because that'll help everybody. So I think your point's well taken, right? We need to figure out how to get in the health caucus, the rural caucus, the aviation. I think, again, this is the beauty of us, right? We really have so many places that we're offering something of value. The issue is us making sure we're aggressively pursuing them. So great point. Yes, ma'am.
Just to go back to this, and one of the ways I approach this is for the system is to put out all of the system priorities and the requests, but then drill it down to what does this mean for the people that can vote for you?
Yeah.
Because that's all that matters. So it's just hard to see these big numbers and not realize what it means. So what they care about, they don't even really care what it does for Rapid Haven Community College. They care about what it does for people.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. Again, that's the multiple worlds we walk in. So yeah. Again, this is why I think we have such a great product, so to speak, to advocate on behalf of, and this is why we shouldn't be asking for small stuff. This is why we need to be going big.
I'm new to the state, coming from the federal side. So are we limited to just state legislation? Or if I wanted to contact like the Office of Payne or Warner or Whitman, would that be advisable?
Yes,
Of course,
yes.
okay.
Just give me a call first, will you?
Of course.
But yes, so I think the federal piece, we used to have a federal lobbyist, right? Was it
Clayton Cox.
Clayton Cox? Oh, when McGuire was. And it used to be that, so for a long time, they had earmarks at the federal level and they did away with the earmarks. They've brought them back, but they don't call them earmarks anymore. And each of the federal, in addition to Congress, it's really those federal agencies. Yes, we need to, I think we've got more opportunity there, is the answer to that. By the way, what did you do at the federal level?
Senior advisor, chief administrative officer for like Treasury and Commerce.
You work in Treasury?
Yes.
When?
2021 to 25.
I promise.
21 to 25.
He was wondering when she should disclose. About 20 years.
No.
It's all good. I work in Treasury.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bureau of Engraving and Printing. I was at the Bureau of Engraving and Printing.
You were?
Yep.
All right. Okay. We should definitely talk. Yeah. Oh, that's right. You.
This might be a little off topic, but what about our K-12 partners?
They are indispensable partners that we need to do more with.
That's what I
Yeah, and we have to, so let me just, that is a great question. So we got to be careful that we're not getting unwittingly pitted against K-12, right? At the end of the day, we should be the closest of partners. And we got some work to do on that. But yes, I think K-12 and us together have work to do together. But it goes back to that relationship piece. We got to build a better relationship there. Yeah. Yes, and I'll get Brett.
Yeah, I kind of want to follow with Trustee Sappho's question related to coordination. So as Dr. Downey has referenced for aviation, what the Community College and Blue Ridge has done together is we've kind of created a playbook and an enrollment management strategy together, bringing in our K-12 partners as well as we talk about the full pipeline. And that type of sale is much more impressive.
Yes.
Right, and effective when it comes to legislators.
Yes.
Because they know we create this ecosystem, not just think about the immediate, but also years to come.
Yep.
And so we just had an enrollment management meeting, bringing both of our teams together just a couple of weeks ago. It was very effective to ensure we have the same messaging related to local elected officials, related to partners, et cetera. It's just one example of ways we can do this together.
Yep.
And we, of course, now the FAA said it's two separate schools, right? But the FAA also knows that we're working together to ensure that our curriculum, our delivery is the same.
Yeah. I think, you give that back to Brett. When we think that our school may be the only one doing something, we need to just confirm that. because where our school and others within the network are doing something will be much more effective if we coordinate to make the ask. And the ask should be bigger, right? And so the more we can coordinate, the better chance we have to actually bring in more resources than we could do it as one-offs. Yes, sir.
So Maurice, historically, the higher ed has lobbied as a block. And it's well known as one of the most expensive parts of state government. How does the community college differentiate itself from the 4 years? Because they have a particular reputation of there's never enough money. But the community college has a reputation that it's building of outcomes-based education. How is your strategy going to help differentiate those?
Yeah. I think when you look at, no, it's all right. When you look at what we have to offer, and I won't try to throw any shade on the 4 years right now. But when you look at what we have to offer, we're more than higher ed, right? We are certainly in higher ed, but we are also the state's biggest workforce provider. The most important component of the work I did in commerce and trade was actually the community colleges, because we would offer financial incentives to companies to move to Virginia. And we would compete against other states to do that. And it did not matter how much money we put on the table if we couldn't show the company that Virginia had a way of training their workers, and doing so quickly, and doing so if they located in Richmond or if they located in Emporia. The community colleges were the asset for us there. So we're also one of the state's most powerful economic development sectors as well. So what I'll tell you is we are in more sectors that are important to the Commonwealth than our 4 years are. Not that they're not important, they clearly are. The other piece for us now, that's why I started with affordability. One of the biggest sources of skepticism about our 4 years now is the cost. The other piece is, where will the growth and talent come from? The 18 to 25-year-old? No. Plus 25? Yes. Who is better positioned to serve the adult worker in Virginia at the higher ed level than we are? No one. No one. I got 10 minutes? Okay. All of those ways are ways that I'll take those cards any day. But it's a great question.
And our graduates stay in Virginia.
And our graduates stay in Virginia.
And really quickly, we're better at doing what we do than they are at trying to do it.
And then there's the point I was going to make. I think we can all agree there's a difference between cost and value. So we lean in and we talk about our affordability as a cost, but we also need to lean in and remind everybody of the value. And what I've been sharing as president of my college is that it starts with us first. And a lot of us finish a community college first. But when we ride around and we see license plate tags, we see university license plate tags, we don't remember, it starts with us. The value starts with us because we significantly increase the chances of you completing in a 4-year when you start with us. We laid the groundwork. That's the value.
That is a great point. At the end of the day, it's about value. You're right. So thank you for highlighting that. What I got 10 minutes still? Well, let me do something. 5 minutes? Okay. The Chancellor just cut me in half.
Well, I think we're supposed to be in there.
So get this. This is my list when we're advocating in the private sector. What do you notice? That's the same list. Now, there's one addition I did add. Now, I would take all the additions that we just had, and here's the addition. So, look, when we're talking to companies, one of the ways that we can strengthen our case is to get other companies that we've worked with to help make our case. I was telling folks earlier, I used to work for an organization that worked with 80 Fortune 500 companies around the country. And our job was to help those companies hire and promote Black talent who didn't have four-year degrees into more family-sustaining roles and jobs and careers. And we curated a community of practice to help folks with hiring practices, with promotion practices, with recruiting. It was a number of different things. And we got some of the highest, well, I should say, some of the costliest consultants in the country to help us put together the content. And we would bring together, and these CEOs all showed up. I mean, the CEO of Walmart, the CEO of the Cleveland Clinic, the CEO of IBM, and this was right after George Floyd's murder. And folks were really, really committing to this work. Well, what became really obvious to us very early on is these high-cost consultants could say the sky's blue. And the CEOs would say, well, it depends on which day you're talking about. Is it raining? Is it sunset? But if another CEO said, well, actually, the sky is rainbow, the CEOs would say, you're right. Like my colleague said, the sky is rainbow. We need to bring more companies that we've worked with. We need to leverage them to sell us to others. That's the addition to this list that I would put up here. Otherwise, it still starts with the core, right? Still starts with relationships. We have more of an opportunity to advocate more in the private sector than we're currently doing. And when I say the private sector, I'm talking individuals, philanthropy, companies, family foundations, alumni. We've got 5 million alumni, right? And so we've got to make sure that we prioritize them as much as we prioritize any legislator. We've got to get out, and we've got a lot of opportunity in this space, a lot. What do I have, 5 minutes?
3.
I got 3 minutes. And the chancellor probably would say 1.5, right? What did I leave out? Because I just got a couple more things I want to share with you. All right, let's do this. I want to just remind us, 60th anniversary of the Commonwealth's most powerful asset of producing work-ready talent. Let's not go small when it comes to the 60th anniversary. Yes, let's use it to attract more investment in our cause.
It changed my life for the better. It gave me more home time, gave me a higher salary. It transformed my life.
I finally found what I wanted to do at the age of 41.
I was awarded a full ride scholarship within the STEM Promise program, and that program definitely has catapulted me in ways that I will forever be grateful.
I have made and have had a lot of doors opened that I chose to walk through that have given me the opportunity to be where I am now.
I never not once thought that I would ever have a career. I thought that I would always just be working jobs just to pay the bills and just try to afford gas a little bit every now and again. But now I actually have a place where I will be there for the rest of my life.
I lost my husband, stage 4 lung cancer. He was running his HVAC company. He asked me, as his wish, to take over the company and continue it. Are you in right mind? I never pick up a screwdriver. So I started in HVAC, 50-year-old lady, and amazingly, my teachers, they were super kind, super understanding, and all I got was respect from every one of those classmates, professors, everyone. It was amazing.
I have 5 kids. It was a goal of mine to show them that regardless of what age you're at, it's always a possibility to further yourself. Age is just a number. Knowledge is eternal.
My trade as an electrician has allowed me to meet so many different people, learn about them and their lives, and apply it to mine, and try to make me a better human, better person.
I'm able to help my children. Recently just bought my daughter a car, so I'm able to help them out in life and hopefully succeed and come to college as I did.
Good stuff, huh? Thanks for all you do. I appreciate you.